Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is your friendly neighborhood Slytherin Ren. Happy 2023 you guys. I cannot believe we are already in the new year. Time truly does not stop for any man or woman. Today I am finally bringing you my comprehensive Best in Asian Beauty 2020 awards. Every single product on this list is something that I recommend with my entire chest as a long-time decade-long resident of Japan, and I've applied it liberally to not just my eyes but sometimes to my cheeks as well as a highlighter. I have taken no breaks, no gap years spent outside the country. Okay, I've been here for 10 plus years at this point straight. I think I am more than qualified to tell you without a shadow of a doubt the absolute best products on the market as someone who has truly unlimited access to every corner of the East Asian beauty market. So the thing is, a lot of the Asian products that are hyped up over there in the Western beauty world, well, I mean, some of them are valid. It's not like everyone who is raving about them is wrong per se, but keep in mind that whenever you watch reviews or recommendations on Asian makeup or Asian brands from people not based in an actual Asian country, even if that person themselves is of Asian descent, they are bound to have some blind spots, because at the end of the day, the products that make it over there and get hyped up in the Western world are typically cherry picked and never really representative of the entire picture. Like, there's tons of niche hidden gems over here in the actual Tokyo hood that never make it onto those English lists for the best of Asian beauty. And if you really think about it, who compiles those lists anyway? Is it people that actually live in Asia, or is it like, I don't know, Lisa Eldridge? Like, no disrespect at all, okay, but the reason I mention Lisa Eldridge is because for some reason people always cite her like in the Western beauty community online as some sort of expert on Asian beauty, and that's because she does have a professional history working for Asian or specifically Japanese brands. I think Shiseido was a big one. So again, this is not shade or any type of disrespect, but I am an Asian woman, right, who lives in Asia. I don't need a Lisa Eldridge or whoever to tell me what makeup is going to work best for me, okay? You know whose opinion and discernment I need? Me, myself, and moi. Yeah, that's right, I said it, okay? It's all me, it's all us, baby. We don't need anyone else. And speaking of Shiseido, case in point, I guarantee you that nobody over here under the age of 40 is checking for anything that Shiseido puts out lately. In fact, the last time I was near a Shiseido counter, I literally overheard two young, like, college age girls talking to each other about, one of them was like, ew, don't buy anything from here, this is such old lady shit. Yeah, that's literally what their conversation was like. So need I say more? The youth have spoken, okay? Does Shiseido have objectively good quality stuff? Yeah, sure, but in terms of social capital here, their coolness factor is pretty much in the toilet and has been for several years in the eyes of the actual average young makeup consumer here in Japan. That's why they have to create a million younger, newer brands under their umbrella to actually capture the interests of the trendy makeup demographic here. So you see what I mean? This is the type of nuance that you would be hard pressed to find anywhere else except for this channel. But lucky for you, I do run this channel. So let's get into it. My best picks of all time for Asian beauty in 2022. Say a prayer for my vocal cords, please, because I just don't see any way that we're going to get through this list of almost 30 products without my voice becoming completely fried by the end, okay? I might even have to split this filming into 2 days because that's how serious this is. Before we get started, I actually want to mention that I do have a code for Yes Style. I got it years and years ago and never really pushed it because I just don't have that many followers anyway, but I just checked the other day with a different email account and it is still technically valid. So if you normally purchase Asian beauty products through Yes Style and you want to support my channel in a small way, consider using my code. It is Berry Gang in all caps. It's only like 5% off, so you know, nothing huge, but again, if you're just gonna buy the products anyway and you want to show support to my channel in any small way, you can use that as a reward code when you go to checkout. There are two different cells, like blank spaces, that pop up. One is for coupon code and the second one is for reward code. I'm not sure why they differentiate that, to be honest, but in any case, for my code, you will want to enter Berry Gang in all caps in the rewards code space and you'll get 5% off. I am not sponsored by Yes Style or any of the brands or products mentioned in this video. These are just my genuine, tried and true faves, and I will of course link the Yes Style product page to every single product that I mentioned today if it is available on their site for your ease of access. Starting off with the first category of face, I have my Etuse Face Edition Skin Base for oily skin. This has been my favorite for over a year now. This comes out the tube like a slightly pink tinted liquid, similar to the shade of the actual bottle, and the consistency is kind of like a Pepto-Bismol like liquid. Now it says that this is for oily skin, but I think it actually works beautifully on both oily and combination skin, which is what I have. It mattifies the perfect amount without drying down your skin too much, and it also gives a really nice brightening effect. It especially saves me when it comes to my T-zone area, which is where I tend to get oily the most. Sometimes when I'm going out, I don't even have to apply this all over my entire face. I'll just cover like the T-zone area, the problem areas that I know are prone to get oily, and it pretty much has me covered for the entire day. It holds up even in really humid hot weather and during moderate to intense exercise. Whenever I have this on when I'm exercising or doing something physical, it's breathable enough to let the sweat like seep out from behind my pores so that I can actually dab off the sweat, which is a good thing because you don't want your sweat to be trapped underneath your makeup necessarily. That can create like breakouts and more problems for you. So this allows the sweat to seep through, but then somehow it stays perfectly intact still. So it's almost like a second skin in that regard. And then after I dab off my sweat with a towel or something, again, the mattification stays intact. So it never really gets to the point where there's like that unsightly oil buildup on my skin. This is a lifesaver. The second product in the face category is no foundation, okay? Now I know this is not an actual product. I know I'm being tongue-in-cheek by including that in this list, but I really feel like this is almost more important than any other actual makeup item that I'm gonna mention today. I really feel like we've been getting it backwards this whole time. You know, instead of focusing on how you can cover up your skin imperfections, blemishes, and acne scars, what have you, we should be focusing our energy on taking care of our skin and getting to the root of like our skincare problems. If you take the money and time that you would have spent on hunting down the perfect foundation and instead invest that into actually like researching for what is the best skincare regimen, what is the best diet for your particular skin type, if you do that properly, right? Drink lots of water, all of that good stuff, you should end up with skin that is more radiant and beautiful of a finish than any foundation can promise to give you. Now, I'm lucky that I've never had any major skin conditions or problems throughout my life, but if I did, I can tell you the first thing I would do would be to take myself to an actual skincare professional, okay? I would go to the dermatologist to do like a literal autopsy on my skin or my body chemistry, and I would let that professional spell out for me right then and there what exactly I need to do to nourish my skin and keep it looking in top condition from the inside out so that I don't even need to cover it up anymore. You know, I feel like it just makes so much more sense to spend your money and time on the root issue, right? Instead of these band-aid solutions, which is what I would consider foundation to be. Unless you are a skincare professional yourself or you have knowledge in that field, if you have any type of skin condition or even just like a unique makeup that it's difficult to figure out what works best for your skin, trying to locate the exact skincare products and makeup available in the general consumer market by yourself without any professional knowledge on what's actually going on underneath the surface, it's almost like trying to find a needle in a haystack. And you're wasting tons of money and energy in the process. So no foundation for 2022 has definitely been one of my personal biggest flexes. That being said though, I do use concealer quite often just to brighten up certain areas and even out my complexion in certain areas that are not as a result of, you know, bad skincare or anything like that. It's just the natural state of my skin. So my go-to combination for 2022 is basically just really good skincare, the Etouce Face Edition for Oily Skin primer, and then basically just spot concealing in a few areas under the eyes, on the bridge of my nose, and then sometimes also on my chin to bring my chin forward a little bit more. So this is actually the only concealer I purchased whatsoever in 2022, and it quickly became a favorite. This is the TirTir Mask Fit All Over Dual Concealer. I only used the cream side like a handful of times and then I stopped using it completely just because I don't like the idea of like dragging anything across my skin or my face if I can help it. So it's not to say that this end is bad per se, but I don't like causing any sort of added friction or stress to my skin if I can help it. So that's why I have been sticking to only the liquid side, and I wish that they had this product only in the liquid form. Like I wish that they had this concealer in only the liquid component. I don't have too much experience with other concealers to really offer a great comparison, but I can say that for myself personally, I was very, very impressed with this formula. It's super creamy and smooth. It's super thin, but it has like a very even and opaque high coverage, but then it also blends like very, very well into your skin. So this is actually like a little bit bright when compared to my actual skin color, but once I blend it out, it blends so seamlessly into my natural skin color that it just provides like a very, very natural looking brightening effect under my eyes and anywhere else on my face that I'm trying to highlight. It also remains looking the same throughout the entire day. Like, it doesn't cake or dry out my skin. It doesn't fade away at all regardless of what I'm doing. Even when I'm exercising at dance class or pole class or whatever, it's one of those products where I can just literally set it and forget it. So that's why this is my top concealer pick for 2022. I wish that in the future they could come out with a full size of just the liquid formulation. It could possibly exist already, but I don't think so, because every time I search for TirTir concealer online, this is the only product that pops up. So yeah, it would be really great if I could purchase just the liquid concealer in a full size, because I just know that I'm probably never going to use this stick end of it. I mean, look at how little of the liquid you get. It's basically like I'm paying double the price. Although I will say this tiny little component has lasted me for quite some time. I do use this quite often, and only now has it started to slightly dry out after several months of use. So imagine how much use I could get out of a full-sized liquid concealer tube. Next category is eyebrows. This is another category that I'm not very adventurous in, you could say, but I also am of the opinion that if you find something that works, why fix what's not broken, you know? Like, why look outside of your relationship if you're perfectly happy with your partner already? So I have been using pretty much exclusively for the entirety of 2022 this RMK Powder Eyebrow N compact with 3 different shades in here. As you can see, the middle shade is the one that I use the most often. I will use this to fill out the general outline of my brows, and then I'll go in with the darker shade to fill in the areas that are a little more sparse and also the ends of my eyebrows. Although this is not as efficient as using, say, an eyebrow pencil, I definitely prefer to use powder because I feel like it just gives you a much more natural finish. And with this powder in particular, it just has everything that I'm looking for. It's finely milled, it gives a really nice soft airbrushed finish, and the finish really mimics the natural texture and look of your actual eyebrow hairs to a T. It's not too shiny, it never looks waxy. Even when I sweat throughout the day, or if I'm wearing this throughout a workout session, it will never, even when it's mixed with my natural oils, it just never comes off as like waxy or oily. It always just maintains that natural dullish type of shine, the way that your normal eyebrow hairs would look. The one huge advantage that I find with this eyeshadow palette that you might not think of immediately, but I think it's going to make a lot of sense once I say it, is that it kind of acts like insurance for me. Like, even if I do a sloppy or a bad job, the finish looks so natural that it somehow saves my eyebrow. It just somehow comes together and looks so natural that it always like saves the day, even if my own personal makeup handiwork is not up to par that day, if that makes sense. My eyebrows are not super sparse or anything, but they are very thin, and they taper off at this point where you naturally would have an arch, but my eyebrows just stop there, right? It doesn't continue going down this way. That's a result of me over plucking them in high school and college. But yeah, because of that, I do struggle to maintain a consistent eyebrow shape from day to day, since I'm essentially drawing on at least 1/3 of my eyebrow. Like, from this point down to the tail, this is not actual eyebrow hairs. This is all thanks to the powder. So my eyebrow shape and like the exact angle of my arch and everything can really vary from day to day depending on how on top of my game I am that day. I'm gonna insert my little 2022 eye makeup reel here. You can see that my eyebrows really differ from one look to the other, but throughout it all, at least the one commonality is that it looks very natural and fluffy, right? There's no like super cringe, super unnatural looking block brow moment happening, you know? Think of James Charles circa 2016, right? And that's really all thanks to the high quality of this powder, I think. Also, even though the pans are really tiny, don't be fooled, because this formula powder itself is actually very dense, so you get a lot of product pressed down into these small pans. I only hit pan on this middle shade in December, which is the shade that I use the most out of, and I've been using this compact alone for my eyebrows for 8 months straight. And even with this pan, you can see that the product is nowhere near finished. I actually think that this compact could realistically sustain me throughout the entirety of 2023. So from a cost per use perspective, it's actually a very, very good deal if you think about it. This retails for around 4,000 yen, which you might initially think is a lot for an eyebrow product, but look at the longevity that you can get out of this. I've been using this for 8 months straight and it's still nowhere near being finished. So if you think about an eyebrow pencil, like I would probably have to go through 5 eyebrow pencils to cover that same amount of time, then the cost of this really does seem quite reasonable. The second and last eyebrow product that I want to mention is actually a eyebrow mascara that I don't have on hand with me right now because I'm currently trying to finish this one by heavy rotation, but this is not on the list, so we can ignore it. It's not bad, but it's not best of material. So look at that, it doesn't even match my hair color remotely, but I'm still gonna use it until it runs out. But the one that I was super impressed with and over the moon about in the earlier half of 2022 was the
Deja Vu Film Mayu Color.
It has a micro precision brush, which that alone is a huge selling point for me. I think regardless of your features or the size of your eyes or eyebrows, you can never go wrong with a micro brush, right? It works for pretty much everyone. And then also similarly to the pros that I listed about the RMK Eyebrow Powder, it is a very, very natural finish, not too shiny, not too matte, perfectly just coats your eyebrow hairs and makes it look like they are naturally that color to begin with. The only con about it is that I feel like there's way too little product in one tube, but it's not that expensive. It's only like 1,000 yen, so whatever, it's fine. And it also is, a little goes a long way, you know, much like most of the items in this video. So the next category is eyeshadow, which I only found one product from a Japanese brand that I could say personally met my criteria to be considered one of the best of the year. Now, admittedly, my tastes in eyeshadow don't necessarily reflect that of the average Japanese makeup consumer. Especially last year, I was really getting into like colorful looks, experimenting with different color combinations and shapes and things like that. So since I am a pigmentation and color girl at heart, at least in this season of my life, you could say that at least on the eyeshadow front, I do tend to vibe more with the Western brands. I think I can say that Odin's Eye is my favorite eyeshadow brand at the moment, and recently I've been really intrigued by Pat McGrath after purchasing their Celestial Nirvana palette and really taking a liking to it. I'm now like keeping an active eye on Pat McGrath for any future releases that they have in 2023. But since we are doing a best of Asian makeup for 2022, I do think that this next eyeshadow product that I'm going to mention is something that really fits the bill, even for someone like me who prefers more of a Western style, you know, super pigmented type of formula, and that would be the Cipicipi Dressy Shadow R in 02 Peach Tart. This is what I have on my eyes right now. As you can see, it is a really rich, beautiful, just terracotta, peachy, pigmented, neutral type of vibe. This is my idea of a neutral look. I really like the setup of 3 mattes and a shimmer. That's kind of the perfect ratio for me personally. I know that people are divided on this. Some people find mattes difficult to work with and they prefer more shimmers, but for me, I feel like as long as you find a good solid matte eyeshadow formula, like one that blends really well, I don't think it's difficult at all to create just a beautiful simple gradation on your eyes. And then at the end of the day, you really only need like one shimmery metallic shade to put as an eyeshadow topper, and also like I've done in the tear bag area. I really appreciate that the lightest beigey peach shade here actually shows up opaque on my lids. There's so many quads, especially over here in the Japanese market, that whenever they have like these light beige or pink shades, I lay them down on my eyes and I feel like they just disappear. They don't show up at all against my skin, so it seems pointless to me to have them there. But this quad is different. This one actually shows up and you can actually see it even after you're done layering the other colors on top. This is the second iteration of Cipicipi eyeshadow quads. So this one is made in Korea. I actually have the very first quad that she released in 2021. Fukurena is the YouTuber who produced this brand. So this is the original like the first iteration of the Dressy Shadow Quad. This one is in 01 Rose Burgundy, and these were made in Japan. I remember really liking this one too. I did not do a best of 2021 makeup video, but if I did, this would have definitely been in that list. So in that sense, I guess it's consistent. Like Cipicipi is really out here, outdoing the girls, okay? Outdoing the Can Makes and the Cezannes and the other basic girlies in the drugstore. So props to Fugurena for creating like a really good line of products that actually resonates with the current generation and the current makeup style. Personally, I do prefer the old packaging to the new one. I feel like this one is just so much more unique and it has more character to it. But yeah, I guess you can pretty much consider these to be completely different products because, you know, this one is made in Japan, this one's made in Korea, and I can definitely tell the difference between the actual eyeshadow formulas. This one reads much more like a typical Korean eyeshadow palette. But regardless, I do love both. I love this brand in general. This is not the only item from Cipicipi to appear on the list today. It's just a shame that they're so small because, you know, it's produced by a YouTuber, so they really don't have that many resources, and because of that, they don't have that much of a variety yet in their color selection. For me, it oddly works out because ironically, all of their eyeshadow palettes right now are kind of all in the same terracotta vein, which just happens to be my personal preference. But yeah, I hope that in the future they can like find a way to expand the color range, maybe add some pinks or cool tone browns in there. I feel like that would be a great next step for this brand. Next category is eyeliner. Believe it or not, my first mention is actually the Can Make Creamy Touch Liner. This is the first time that I've ever jived so well with a gel pencil liner. You guys know that I've always been a liquid girly, still am, but you know, I've been getting into like a lot of Douyin eye makeup techniques over the past year especially, and you really do need to be able to smudge it out and make everything look seamless with a lot of those techniques. So a liquid liner would just not cut it. For that, it would look way too harsh. I've always known about the Can Make Creamy Touch Liner series. It's kind of a legend in these Japanese makeup streets out here, but I never really like took that leap of faith on them until last year. And I'm so glad that I did because this is truly the perfect ideal gel pencil liner in a nutshell. It hits every single point. You know, it has a micro tip for smaller eyes so that you can do really detailed work. You can draw a really sharp line. It's super creamy and glides on super easily to not only your eyelid but also your waterline. But then somehow, miraculously, once it actually gets deposited onto your skin, it just dries down to this perfect budge-proof matte but not too dry and still smudgeable finish. The color that I've been using the most lately is 05 Bitter Caramel, and it is exactly as the name suggests, just a perfect caramel toffee, again, terracotta shade. So it matches the eyeshadow that I have on today perfectly. You can see I used it to create kind of like an exaggerated wing on the sides of my eyes, and it just blends in, like it becomes one with the eyeshadows. I even am able to do that Douyin inner corner eyeliner technique, which I always, like, I never thought that I would be able to pull off just because of the unique shape of my eyes, but somehow with this liner, I'm able to do it. If I just pull it up and like, instead of making it come to a point down here, which kind of is weird, it makes my eyes look droopy, I just curve it out upwards. Like if you can see, this darker area here is actually the creamy touch liner, and then I smudge it out with a brush and a similar shade of eyeshadow, and it just creates the perfect like smoky inner corner effect. These are so soft that the component is designed in a way that it's not retractable, so you have to be careful. Once you twist up the product, you're not going to be able to bring it back down, so only do like 1 or 2 clicks really every time you go in to use this. That's not a con though. I actually think that is the perfect design for this product because it's so soft and creamy that it's almost like it would fall apart, you know, if you treated it like a regular gel liner that you can twist up and down. It's just so soft and creamy. It's almost like a cream eyeliner in stick form. If you just use it the way that it's designed, like twisting out a tiny little like millimeter of product every time you want to go in on your eyes, it'll work out perfectly. You know, it doesn't break because it's so creamy, and yeah, it's just the perfect liner. In fact, they have 9 shades available in this line, which are all beautiful natural colors like black, brown, this caramel color. I also have the khaki green. The only thing that I think would take this product to even the next level is if CanMake were to release a colorful range of eyeliners in this exact same formula. That would really just, I feel like that would break the internet. But even if they don't do like colorful neon colors, you know, I can rely on the Western brands for that. Even if they don't ever foray into like the super neon colorful arena, if they were to just come out with a beige or a white color in the Creamy Touch liner formula, I feel like that alone could double their sales or something. Like seriously, because that would be so useful to have a product like that to just pop in the waterline whenever you want to brighten that area up. Right now I just use like a beigey Colourpop cream gel liner for that, which does the job, but I'm just saying it would be even better with the Creamy Touch liner formula. Okay, second eyeliner formula. I do have to cheat a little bit here and mention a non-Asian brand just because my previous favorite, like holy grail liquid eyeliner of all time was actually the RMK Ingenious liquid eyeliner, which came in an ink pot form. And if you've been a subscriber of mine for a while, you will definitely recognize the design. I know I'm kind of in the minority here with my preference for ink pot style eyeliners. Like I prefer a dip pot ink liner over any other format of eyeliner in a nice traditional just black 90% of the time. I know that this can be cumbersome to deal with. It takes more effort to work with and perfect than just any old easy automatic brush liner pen, but for me the payoff is well worth the trouble, especially considering that I wear false eyelashes all the time. So it's just really useful to have that ink pot style where I can paint over, you know, the lash line or, you know, the dried glue, which usually looks white. So I cannot live without an ink pot black liner, which is why I was very devastated when RMK discontinued their black Ingenious liquid eyeliner. They didn't get rid of the product altogether, they just got rid of the black. Like I'm not kidding, it's the most bizarre thing. They kept every single other shade, like red, gold, this random weird like cement beige shade, which I don't know who's using that. There's nothing even close. Like I would have honestly settled for a deep brown or something if they had that, but no. The only basic universal color that they had, which was the black, they got rid of. Literally, what gives? I don't get it. I'm convinced that that decision was done to personally spite moi, because there's just no other sensible explanation. But anyway, there's no use crying about spilled milk. So luckily I found that the Colourpop Graphix liner is actually a pretty amazing dupe for the RMK formula and affordable to boot. I think for these Graphix liners, depending on what color it is, it can be hit or miss in terms of opacity, but I can tell you for sure that the black one, which is called Love Fool, this one is super opaque and it dries down beautifully. Nice like semi-matte finish, doesn't budge. I am a happy camper with this one, and it lasts forever too. Like wow, for being in such a tiny pot, this product just goes on and on. It's like an everlasting gobstopper. If however you're not an OG like me with the ink pot liners and you insist on a recommendation for a more basic, you know, pen style automatic liquid liner, don't worry, I got you for that as well. Let me introduce to you with full confidence the K Palette One Day Tattoo Real Lasting Eyeliner 24 hours. I have this one in like jet black, and then I also have a dark brown one somewhere. I don't know where it went, but they're pretty much like very similar. This one is so inky and opaque. It has a brush tip liner. All the liquid eyeliners in Asia have brush tip liners, by the way. Like we don't mess with that felt tip BS over here. This one is so inky and pigmented. You'll use it for months and months on end, and then you think it's finally starting to dry out, but then you leave it like facing down vertically for like one day and it goes back to its super wet inky self, and then you use it for a couple more weeks. Okay, everything's going great, and oh, maybe for real this time it's drying out. Nope, you take that sucker and you run it under some hot water and you can get weeks and weeks more out of it. Okay, again, it's like an everlasting gobstopper. People on the internet and the less knowledgeable influencers out there are going to rave about, you know, Love Liner and Uzu, and those are great products, but those are kind of like the popular girls in school that you realize later on when you grow into an adult, they were not really all that. It's just that their parents had money, you know, so they were able to afford cool clothes and stuff to make them popular. This K palette eyeliner though, this is like that quiet, introspective goth kid in the back of the class who secretly has a 160 IQ. This is the Wednesday Addams of liquid eyeliners in Japan, okay? I'm telling you. Hey, if this is Wednesday Addams, then guess what the OG ink pot style eyeliners are? Morticia Addams. So I'll be Morticia Addams, you guys can be the Wednesday Addams, and we're winning either way, okay? Don't listen to the hype about the other eyeliner brands out there, okay? K Palette One Day Tattoo Real Lasting Eyeliner is where it's at. I mean, with a name like that, you know they did not come to play. Okay, it says WP here for waterproof. Why does my mind immediately go to WAP? I mean, that's not wrong either, technically. Let me stop. The last item that I want to mention is kind of more like a subcategory. Still eyeliners, but instead of lining your lash line, these are liners for your tear bag. So they're literally called, you know, tear bag liners. So I'm sure there's like a lot of brands that do this successfully, but the 3 brands that I have personally tried out and had a lot of satisfaction with are number 1, Cipicipi. That one is the most expensive and also the most natural looking. That one is like 1,500 yen. I think I went through 2 of those. I don't have one on hand right now just because it is kind of expensive and it does dry out pretty quickly, but in terms of performance, it is like the lightest and most natural looking, both color wise and saturation wise. Like it's very, very light. So there's no way, even if you apply decent pressure, it's not gonna look too harsh. The second one is by Can Make. It's called the 3-Way Slim Eye Rouge Liner. And I have 2 of the shades. I forget the name, but one in orange and one in red. I think they added a 3rd color recently, like a pink or something. And then the 3rd one is the Cezanne Drawing Double Eyelid Eyeliner. And this one also has like 3 shades, I think, available. So the Can Make one has a more natural finish and opacity, I guess you could say, than the Cezanne. And then as you can see, the Can Make brush is quite a bit smaller than the Cezanne brush. So the Can Make is more similar to the Cipicipi in the sense that you can just do one swipe and it'll look just right, whereas the Cezanne one, you do have to finesse a bit more. The brush is a little thicker, so sometimes there's like some liquid collected in one spot and then you just happen to draw that across your tear bag and you have to kind of smudge it out with a Q-tip or something. It's nothing that you can't work with, but I mean, that's to be expected to a certain extent of any product of this nature. But yeah, the Cezanne one requires a little bit more finessing, but color wise, I would say the Cezanne colors are much more natural and like blend better with your natural skin tone than the Can Make colors, which for some reason I don't really understand. They've only had like these 2 for the longest time, the orange and the red, which ironically, again, it works out for me personally because I do tend to gravitate to like richer brown, terracotta, and red shades more often than not. So it happens to work with like the eyeshadow shades that I pick out, but I'm thinking for a more natural makeup, like very natural browns inclined girl, color-wise, these are not the most natural that you can get. You know, I feel like at some point Can Make has to put out like a more beige basic color, and then that would make this pretty much the perfect tear bag liner. I think pretty much an exact dupe for Cipicipi if they would just come out with like a beige shade. Mascara, I only have 1 product to recommend to you. This has been my favorite for years and years. I am in a monogamous relationship with the Opera My Lash Advanced Mascara. This is a tubing mascara, so it doesn't smudge. It has the best applicator that I have ever tried. You see this elongated football shape almost? This is just perfect for getting in there, especially if you are part of the itty bitty lash committee like I am. And also, like, there's a lot of mascaras in the Japanese market that have micro brushes, but I find that a lot of the other ones, although they are small and they have the precision aspect down, they can be quite, the bristles can be quite hard and pokey. Like, I've poked myself in the eye with those and it really hurt before, whereas this one, even if I poke myself accidentally, it doesn't hurt. It's not like, the bristles are kind of softer and more eye safe in that way, but it still manages to like grip each individual lash. This is the most lengthening mascara I've ever tried, and it doesn't clump up easily. Now obviously if you build up several layers, it is going to clump to some extent, but far less than any other formula I've tried. And speaking of layering your mascara, this is the perfect formulation to do that because the fibers actually continue to keep building on each other. So with each layer, you are actually going to get a more elongated lash. It holds the curl beautifully. Like, it pretty much hits every single point that you could want in a mascara. The only thing is that the formula does tend to go bad quite fast. It starts to smell slightly funky after only a month and a half. But I mean, whatever, as long as you don't leave it out under direct sunlight or something, it should be totally fine. I've never gotten an infection or anything with this formula. They've only had their classic black shade in 01 for the longest time, but recently they just came out with a brown shade. This is 03 Mocha Brown. I'm not sure why it skipped from 01 to 03 because there's definitely not a 02. Like, I would have heard about it if that came out. So I don't know, maybe 02 was like the failed run. Anyway, 03, this one is actually very noticeably brown. Like when you put it side by side to the 01, you can tell that's clearly like a medium brown shade. On the actual lashes though, it reads more like clear. So if you're looking for more of that natural, wispy looking, translucent lash effect, I would definitely recommend trying 03 Mocha Brown. I have the black one on my right eye and the brown one on my left eye. So you see how it's not like, this one doesn't automatically scream brown, but it's definitely, it just has like a softer presence than the black. Sorry, I know I'm not like the best mascara model because I wear false eyelashes, so I could only really test it on my bottom lashes, but I do think there's a noticeable difference there if you look closely. The next category is a very important one, glitters, okay? We take our glitters seriously here in Asia. You know, I will give it to the Western makeup brands. They may be ahead of us in terms of like the duochrome technology, like the flip eyeshadows, but as far as glitters, okay, pressed glitter, liquid glitter, you name the format, I'm sorry, but there is no contest. The Asian brands are shitting on the Western brands, okay? Chinese, Korean, and Japanese. So the first exhibit I have is actually the pressed glitter from the Unleashia Tap Me Palette Duo. This is in number 2 Groovy. Just like a nice beige caramel color scheme here. Look, I can't say for certainty that this is necessarily the best pressed glitter on the market. Like at some point they all start to look and feel similar, but this formula in particular, I do think it has a few standout selling points. First of all, the pan is so large. I feel like you definitely get your bang for your buck with this one, but yet the compact itself, you know, it's very small. It's very efficient with the way that it just, there's not a lot of extra space, so you can, it's light enough to bring with you everywhere, and that's exactly what I did. I feel like I have more like opportunities and occasions where I actually get the chance to wear a lot of heavy eye makeup and glitter and all the works than the average person. First of all, because I obviously review a lot of makeup on my YouTube channel, but I also participate in a lot of dance video filmings for my dance class pretty much at least once a month. Now you do the math. I got this palette all the way back in November of 2021, so it's been over a year now since I've had this. I have lost count the amount of times that I brought this onto a dance video shooting location. The camera truly washes out makeup so much, especially for a dance video where there are so few moments when your face is close up in the camera anyway, that you can really just go ham with all of the glitter that you want. So that's what I do. So I've been using this like consistently for a year's worth of dance video filmings. Sometimes I would even let some of the other girls borrow this to add more glitter to their faces as well. And yet look at this, it is nowhere near being panned. We barely made a dent and it's been over a year. It's crazy. For a pressed glitter, I do think this has pretty good sticking power. I've tried a lot of other pressed glitter formulations that are just as reflective, just as many chunky, gorgeous, you know, different sized glitter bits throughout, but some of them do tend to flake a little easier than others. This one, I will say it does stay in place pretty well. I would say maybe avoid swiping it across your eyelid. Instead, you can just take some on your brush or your finger. Usually I use a brush, and then just give it like a few firm presses into the area that you want the glitter to adhere to, and it will stay there just fine, and it's not gonna flake off or move around too much. Yeah, overall this is just a really solid pressed glitter formula. You know, it has a bunch of different sizes. You get the contrast between the smaller and the bigger particles. It reflects a rainbow of different colors, but you see the overall base is beige, so it pretty much matches every single look. The next glitter on my list is by Focalure, which is a Chinese brand. It is their Fairy Glitter Liner in G01 Fairy Mermaid. This is a liquid glitter formulation. I think they have several different options in this line, but the other ones I feel like are just more basic, run-of-the-mill, like metallic glitters. This one, G01, is the most like sparkly and best of the bunch in my opinion. Ingredients wise, I have a feeling like I'm sure it's actually pretty cheap probably, but it just works, you know, like the combination of the large silvery blue hexagonal sequin pieces with the clear base and the micro glitters scattered throughout. It's just such a beautiful contrast, and this used sparingly can really elevate your look to the next level in my opinion. The only critique I have is that I think the brush could use a little bit of work. It frays pretty easily, So if they could work that out, that would be great. But yeah, this is definitely one of the more unique glitters that I've come across. It's like a sequin dress in liquid glitter form. Absolutely beautiful and really amazing for all of those over top, like fairy-like, you know, doll-like Douyin transformations. I need to find a way to incorporate this more into my looks. Honestly, I'm not wearing any today, but yeah, definitely want to experiment with more in 2023. My last glitter recommendation is by Shuamura. This is their eye foil liquid eyeshadow. It serves exactly what the name suggests, this crushed foiled metallic finish, but like thin, so it looks really sophisticated. It doesn't look clunky. It's not gonna be clunky or like overwhelm your eyeshadow underneath. This looks like honestly just an aurora beam in liquid glitter form. I don't know, I'm running out of descriptors here, but I think the swatch speaks for itself. This thing is 4,000 yen a pop, okay? But it kind of makes sense because the fact that it has this like special foiled effect to it, that is something that is definitely a lot harder to formulate and perfect than the typical sequin type of glitter formulation that is so popular and prevalent in the more drugstore-like brands. But yeah, this shade, Sakura Azure, has a beautiful lilac shift to it. The only thing is that it's so specific that it's kind of hard for me to find looks that match this. I pretty much can only use it with a purple or a lilac eyeshadow look. The other shades in this line are also not particularly interesting to me. There's like 3 different shades of gold, which, you know, I'm not a gold girl, so I can pass on those. And then there's 2 deeper coppery brownish shades, which again, I'm not really in the market for a foiled glitter in that particular shade. If they came out with like a rose gold type of shade, I feel like that would be right up my alley. That would match a lot of the color palettes that I'm used to using. So Shuamura, if you came out with an eye foil liquid glitter in rose gold, I would jump on that immediately. For now though, Sakura Azure is definitely like the standout shade to me of the entire line. I actually used quite a bit of it. It's like almost halfway done. Oh my god, I don't want to empty this. 4,000 yen is a lot for a single glitter, okay? Even if it's Shuamura. Okay, we're almost there. We have 3 categories left to go through, so let's just power through this. Next up is blush. I am almost surprised at myself for my first pick, and that is none other than the OG Can Make Tokyo Cream Cheek formulation. I don't know about you, but I am pretty much all about the cream cheek, liquid cheek formulations these days. I still love a classic powder, but you know, these are just so easy and effortless. You really can't go wrong with a classic cream cheek formulation, especially if you're going for that dewy lit from within look. Now, similarly to what I said earlier about pressed glitters, I'm sure that these are not the best hands down cream cheeks available on the market ever, but as far as a baseline and at drugstore prices to boot, these are pretty damn solid, I have to say. They are just the right consistency and texture, you know, not too hard, not too soft, but then it's not too hard either, so you don't really have to worry about these drying out. Actually, if you compare this with another cream cheek formula by a high-end brand, I have this one from MAC here. This is called the Glow Play Blush. This texture, I honestly think is inferior to the Can Make. It's just a little bit like, yeah, it's prone to like weird chunks getting lifted off when you swipe it, and then when you blend it on your face, it has a tendency to get patchy. Not the case with the Can Make cream cheek formulation. You can definitely use a brush with these, but I personally, I have to say that a finger application gives the best effect. It's literally just the simplest 5-second process. You swipe it once on your finger, then you swipe it on your cheek, blend it out minimally, and that's it. You really don't have to do much finessing with this formula. It has this grip to it that wherever you place it on your face, it's going to stay there, so it's not going to move around when you try to blend it out. But that being said, it is also very blendable, so very, very easy and beginner friendly to work with. Also, just the final effect in general, it hits that sweet spot of like 50-60% translucency, so it really looks like you're glowing this color from within. They have a few different formulations, so it just depends on what your preference is. Like for example, this one has a P in the beginning, which stands for pearl. This one has like micro shimmers in it, so if you don't like glitter or shimmery effects in your blush, I would say stay away from the P's. But then they also have like the regular non-glitter, I guess you could say clear formulation, like this one. It just has the number 22. But either way, it's just a beautiful, versatile, totally beginner friendly. Like you can use this blush at any level of skill. The only con is this kind of flimsy packaging. I'm not the hugest fan of it, but at 648 yen, you really cannot beat the value that you're getting. I do just want to make an honorable mention for another liquid blush formula that I've been loving recently. I'm not putting it in the official favorites of 2022 list just because I know it's not as accessible to most people. It does require a little more finessing to get it to apply evenly and actually look decent on your face. This one is a lot more pigmented, so that could be the reason why. But wait a minute, let me tell you the name. It's the RMK Muted Glow Liquid Cheeks in 01 Camel Tan. I don't know if this is even available anymore. It might have been limited edition, but yeah, personally I do like this color. I like to use this when I want just that extra nuance of depth that RMK is so good at bringing to the table with all of their shades and formulations in particular. It just has a little more depth and emphasizes the bone structure a little better than the Can Make cheek. But as far as the favorites of 2022 list, between these two, I mean, it's gotta go to Can Make. This one just dominates on all fronts. Performance, long-lasting wear, price. The penultimate category is highlighters. I only have one, but it's a good one, okay? This is from the Chinese brand JOOCYEE, and it actually has two different names that it goes by from what I can see. I don't know if things just got lost in translation. On the outside box, and also when you search online, it clearly says the JOOCYEE Spiral Shell Highlight, but then on the label on the back here, it says Diamond Gel Highlight. So which one is the correct one? Me personally, I feel like Diamond Gel Highlight makes a lot more sense because Spiral Shell Highlight would imply that this encasing or the design would have some sort of spiral or shell-like design to it, and you can see it clearly does not. So I think Diamond Gel Highlight makes a lot more sense, but nevertheless, irregardless, this is a beautiful veil-like micro shimmer highlight. So high class and exquisite looking. It almost has a foiled effect, like it's micro shimmers, but in a foiled material, if that makes sense. The glitter particles do not look cheap or chunky at all. Also, I cannot say for sure because I've never personally had the opportunity to try this next product, but from what I can see online and just through swatches and other people's reviews, this looks like a pretty good dupe for the Fenty Diamond Bomb highlighter. Just that same veil-like micro shimmer consistency. It also has the perfect amount of emollients holding it together, so it doesn't look dry or flaky once you apply it on. I think a lot of people, like I'm seeing on TikTok and whatnot, like to use the Fenty Diamond Bomb highlighter as an inner corner highlight, and that's exactly what I enjoy doing as well with this JOOCYEE highlighter. So this shade in particular, 01 Moonlight, it is like a white bright silver, so it doesn't exactly match the warm toned eye look that I have on today, but I still wanted to demo it for you guys, so you can see it here in my inner corner. Glistening wet mermaid skin vibes all day. There are a few different shades available, but I think the one in Moonlight is definitely the most universally flattering, and you can match it to the most makeup looks. Last category. Oh my god, we are in the home stretch, guys. I've been at this for, honestly, if you tally up all the hours that I spent on this video, like taking the swatch footage and all the b-roll, this pretty much turned out to be an entire like 24-hour affair, but we're almost there, okay? Just hold on tight. So the last product is lip products. First on my list is the RMK Irresistible Sketch Lip Liner. I wear this pretty much all day, every day, no matter what type of lip color or formula I'm wearing. Even if I'm just wearing chapstick, I use this lip liner. It matches the natural color of my lips to a T. This particular one is a limited edition shade. It's in EX01 Apricot Beige, but this product in general, the Irresistible Sketch Lip Liner, it is part of RMK's permanent offerings. So the regular ones just come in a black pencil instead of a silver. This is just the best, most natural looking lip liner that I have ever used. Aside from the color, the finish gets it just right. It's not too matte, not too shiny. It basically, like, it mimics the skin on my actual lips. This allows me to really get away with overlining without being clocked necessarily, especially this area, like right on top of my cupid's bow. I could really go quite far up with this lip liner to give myself that pouty look. And although it is quite pricey being from a high-end brand, hey, it's cheaper than lip injections. My next lip favorite is the Cipicipi Fuwa Matte Tint Lip. This one is in 02 Rich Almond. Just like the name says in Japanese, it is very fluffy and a bit on the thick side, but it's not heavy. Just a disclaimer, by the way, my preference in lip products is heavily biased to, like, basically how well is the formula going to help me fake a poutier upper lip. I mean, straight up 90% of my consideration goes to that, honestly. The other 10%, for me is the comfortability factor, which nowadays pretty much every single like K-beauty matte liquid lipstick formula has mastered being matte but not drying at the same time. So this Cipicipi one is no exception. Just to remind you, Cipicipi is a Japanese brand, but remember it is made in Korea. So I kind of count this amongst like the other Korean lippies that I have in my collection. But yeah, so the thing is, my Cupid's bow is pretty pronounced, which doesn't make it impossible for me to fake a higher vermilion border, but it does mean that I definitely need a certain like, how do you say it, solidness or moldability in the formula for me to be able to cover it up effectively. Like it either has to blend exactly to a T into my natural lip color, like the RMK lip liner, or it has to be buildable and 3D looking enough to kind of like cover the sharp angles of my Cupid's bow up here, if that makes any sense. So if that is not your goal in particular, like let's say you're already happy with the shape or the positioning of your lips, then perhaps my recommendations would not be so applicable to you personally. My lips have been looking consistently pretty juicy and plump throughout all of 2022, so you don't necessarily need to do all the extra stuff that I'm doing per se to benefit still from these lip recommendations. Hey, you choose who you want to take your advice from though, okay? I'm just saying. So that was my matte liquid lipstick of choice, and now we go into my favorite best glossy formulation for the same non-surgical lip lift effect that I've become a master at, if I do say so myself. And this one is a relatively new release, but it already became my favorite by like my second usage. Okay, I know a keeper when I see it. I don't need much time to decide. I already bought 3 different shades. This is the new Jelly Lip Tint by Revlon, which obviously is a Western brand, but this formulation in particular, it says on the label here that it's made in Korea. Additionally speaking, when this first released here in stores about a month ago, it said on the stand that Japan was the first country, or maybe like Japan and Korea and some Asian countries were the first countries to get this new release from Revlon. So I don't actually know if this is going to release in the Western market at some point in the future, or if it's just an exclusive for the Asian market. But in any case, it is made in Korea, and I would say that the formulation definitely lives up to those Korean lip formula reputations. So we're going to include it in the 2022 Asian favorites. I have on the shade 004 Apricot Sorbet right now. This is like, how do I even begin to describe? Okay, as you can see in front of your eyes right now, my lips are not this pouty naturally, and this is not a plumping effect either. I'll tell you what it is. It's optical illusion makeup skills, baby, okay? The combination of my RMK lip liner and this jelly tint lip, this makes your lips look exactly like all those ads for Korean lip jelly tint, watery lip tint type of formulas. You know how the girls in those ads always have like the juiciest, smoothest, plumpest looking lips ever? But then when you try the actual product on yourself, more often than not, it just falls a little flat, right? So yes, I am talking smack about the Rom and Glasting Water Tint. I'm looking at you, okay? I know this is a fan favorite, okay? I'm not trying to shit on your faves. Your fave could never though. But you know, a lot of people do love this, and I will say it does have its merits. It's pigmented, non-sticky, long wearing, the list goes on. I do enjoy this product to a certain extent, but at the end of the day, I just find the formula a little bit too flat and thin for my taste. It just doesn't quite give that ultra glossy plump lip effect that I feel like I'm falsely advertised in the promo pictures. At the end of the day, it just doesn't quite give that ultra, you know, glossy and plump lip effect that I see presented in the promo pictures. And I think I have pinpointed the reason why. Okay, so it's because in the ad campaigns for these type of lip products, I feel like most of the heavy lifting in terms of like how nice the actual model's lips look, you know, the shape and the plumpness and the smoothness and all of that, most of the heavy lifting is done by things other than the actual lip tint itself, whether that be genetics or lip filler, you know, injectables, not judging. And so by the end of all that, the lip tint itself, it only has to do the bare minimum, really. Like basically, if it's pigmented and somewhat shiny, it will obviously look great on someone who already has really pouty lips to begin with. But if you have thinner lips or are less satisfied with your shape, it's not going to quite live up to your expectations, right? Enter the Revlon Jelly Lip Tint, okay? This is the first glossy watery lip tint type of formula that I've encountered that actually does the heavy lifting for you. It's not too thin like I feel with the Rom and Glasting water tint. Like, it has just the right amount of viscosity to it to really fill out all the wrinkles on your lips and smooth everything out. And on top of that, it also has a pretty good grip to it, so it's not going to slide around on your lips. Wherever you apply it, it's going to cling there and stay put, even on top of my Cupid's bow, which is like a notorious place that most other glossy lip formulas can't help but slide around. This basically gives like all the benefits of a classic juicy plumping lip gloss with 0% of the stickiness and zero actual plumping, tingly, painful sensations, you know? It's just perfection, okay? I'm so glad that I found this in my life in the last leg of 2022, and it's the perfect note to end this video on. Okay guys, this was a marathon of a video. I can't believe we finally made it to the end. I'm so proud of us. I will be listing links to every single product I mentioned today down below in the description box. Just a reminder, you can also use my Yes Style code BerryGang if you live outside of Asia and would like to pick any of these up through Yes Style. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!